Hi everyone, it's Pippa from The Advantage here, Specialist Support Services for Girls and Women with ADHD. Today I wanted to talk to you about a book because people often ask me by email or social media what my recommendations are. I would say actually this is my top recommendation for women with ADHD. It's called A Radical Guide for Women with ADHD. It's by Michelle Franks and Sari Solden. The subheading is Embrace Neurodiversity, Live Boldly, my favourite bit, and Break Through Barriers. I really commend this book to you. It was one of those that I guess I must have heard of on a podcast or I don't know, somewhere, and I impulsively went to Amazon and bought it. Of course, I must have that book, and it went on the pile of all the other books I must have that I have not got round to reading for quite a while. I picked it up, I don't know, maybe a year ago, somewhere around there, and unusually I wasn't able to put it down. And when I say unusually, it's because Pippa has kind of lost the ability to read a book these days. I'm not sure why, but I find that when I sit down with a book, however good it is, I end up reading the page over and over again. You know what I'm talking about, because I'm so distracted by all the things that I think I should be doing or could be doing instead of sitting down and reading this book. So how I got over that is I listen to books now on Audible when I'm walking the dog or doing the chores, whatever. But I do like to sort of hold a book and turn the pages also. Anyway, this was a very good experience for me because I did hold the book, I did turn the pages. It's written kind of workbook style, so at the end of every chapter there's opportunity to answer questions and reflect on what you've read and consider how you might implement that in your life. Now, you don't have to read it that way. I'm not going to lie, I didn't do it that way. I just read it like a book because I'm afraid I was a bit kind of greedy to get ahead and find out what's next. It's so good, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, but it was it comes from a very compassionate place. Both these authors live with ADHD. Both these authors assess, diagnose and treat women with ADHD, and I would really sort of recommend them to you as leading experts, in fact, in the female experience. They do a great deal also to raise awareness. So if you have the opportunity to hear them in conferences or webinars or stuff like that, you should really take that with both hands and, of course, read the book. In fact, Ned Halliwell, one of my faves as well, although he's a bloke, he says, this dynamic, valuable workbook will help women embolden themselves, break out of self-imposed exile and soar to the heights they deserve. And it is very much a strength-based approach, encouraging us to see ourselves as whole people rather than a list of ADHD symptoms. Now, obviously, our ADHD brings challenges. I know that, you know that, but we are more than that. We are partners, we are parents, we are sisters, we are daughters, we are colleagues, we are bosses. We are more than a list of our symptoms, and sometimes we do get stuck on the things that that don't sit well with us, I guess. The ADHD brain does have this habit of being very black and white, and we're very quick to label ourselves with things like stupid, lazy, procrastinator, this type of thing, like give ourselves these labels, when that is not the case at all. Maybe we do have trouble starting a task, let's say. That doesn't make you a procrastinator. It means on occasion you find it difficult to get going on a task. You're still much more than that. Of course you are much more than that. The authors really encourage us to learn to be at ease with the women that we are, to lean into that rather than resist it, and to see ourselves as a whole, I guess, rather than to reduce ourselves to a list of I'm impulsive, I'm hyperactive, I can't sustain my attention, I'm a procrastinator, I'm emotional, and so on. We are not a list, we are a dynamic whole being. And the authors suggest some steps on this path. Now, I'm obviously going to be oversimplifying it, and please do not take this video instead of reading the book. I hope this video encourages you to read the book. Step 1 is stop trying to fix yourself. Now, obviously, I'm an ADHD coach, so I feel that there's a danger that I'm doing myself out of my job by mentioning this, because lots of times we say to ourselves, well, I will be happy when. So I will be happy when my time management improves. I will be happy when I stop procrastinating. I will be happy when. You need to be happy now with who you are, with what you bring, and acknowledge that that is a great deal. Of course, there are things that you may want to work on. I mean, hopefully every human being's doing that, because it is a journey and we never stop learning and we're always growing. Nothing wrong with that. But if we feel that in order to be happy, or in order to be accepted, or in order to fit, we must fix, this is not a helpful mindset at all. They quote a lady called Jean Roth, and this made me smile. She writes about eating disorders, actually, and she says, I've tried versions of not fixing myself before, always with the secret hope that not fixing myself would fix me. We need to surrender to this, because actually there is no fix. And I think Jean's got a point. You know, like, if your brain means that you are hyperactive and impulsive and emotionally hyper aroused, then that's what you got, and you've got to make the best of that. You're not going to get a new brain anytime soon, so you have to lean into it. That's the only way. So stop trying to fix ourselves. You can work on things, of course, and there are things that there are always tips and workarounds to share and to learn, but that doesn't make you a better person. You are a great person as is. Step 2 is reflecting on the person that you are and understanding yourself. Now, of course, you probably know a lot about your ADHD symptoms and how they show up in your life, and you probably spent a long time thinking about that. But the authors encourage you to consider your ADHD strengths. So what strengths does this condition bring you? And speaking for myself, it has brought me a lot. It powered my teaching career for sure. My energy and enthusiasm from my ADHD, I brought that to my classes. I brought that to my relationship with my students. And although undoubtedly they've forgotten everything I ever actually taught them, they will not forget how I made them feel. And I hope on balance, I made them feel good about themselves. And, I made them feel encouraged and supported, and that they were interesting, and so on. And it was a great experience. I loved working with young people. It was such a privilege. I'm so glad I had the opportunity. When I left that, I worked as a coach and a trainer for a local charity. Again, I was delighted to do that. It was such a great privilege to work with families and professionals to support young people with ADHD. And now I do this. I'm giving all my energy to supporting girls and women with ADHD, because there is such a lack of understanding and lack of support for us. And I know that I bring a lot of good things to that role. So what I need you to do is think about what comes naturally to you. What comes naturally to you? What can you bring to your family, to your communities, to your co-workers, to your fellow students? What do you bring? What talents and skills have you got? Make a list of those, yeah? Think about those. And if you're like, what does she mean? Ask your crew, ask your partner, ask your parents, ask your siblings, ask your besties, ask these people, what are your strengths? And I bet you will see that the same things will come back to you, that the same adjectives will be on replay, affirming your character. But know what your strengths are and lean into them. Obviously, knowing how the ADHD touches you, where it shows up the most, is important. And trying to mitigate that is important too. What I would say is, you know, nobody is good at everything. You know, even the neurotypicals struggle, right? You know, like it's not like they're all perfect and we are all broken. It doesn't work like that. Nobody is good at everything. So you don't have to be, and I don't have to be either. So the things that we struggle with, what can we delegate? What can we ditch? You know, why struggle to, you know, be on top of the cleaning if you can pay a cleaner to do it? Why struggle to be on top of the garden if you can pay a gardener to do it? And if you're thinking, oh, it's fine for you, Pippa, you know, just pay all these people. Okay, if you can't pay, what about you trade favors with people that are good at the things you're not so good at? You know, maybe you could, you know, trade favors, like you do the gardening and they do the cleaning, something like that, or delegate to the family members, or use technology. Oh my gosh, so many apps for everything. You know, find ways, workarounds, hacks, instead of like banging your head on a brick wall, trying to make yourself into something you were not made to be. Why do that? So yeah, and I suppose that the last thing on that I would say is consider how you are treating your ADHD. Obviously, if you let it run wild, it is going to be a nuisance, 100%. But what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you exercising? Are you considering your diet? Are you actively trying to practice a positive mindset? Are you meditating? Are you practicing mindfulness? What are you doing to help yourself? Not to fix yourself, but to help yourself. What are you doing? Consider what your values are, what qualities you have, and you know, really see the whole of you. Step 3 is about, well, they call it following your true north, which is really, I guess, like really honing in on your interest, on your calling, on your vocation, and living that out, because that is where our great strength is. If we can lean into our interest, remember, we have an interest-based nervous system, and if our interest is activated, we can be tremendous. So what is that for you? What is your true north? What is your calling? If you're not living it, if you're not spending your time on what you're interested in, you need to stop doing that other thing and start doing that, because that's where we will shine. Okay, that's where we will shine. The authors say, they say that one of the things we can do for ourselves is kind of write a mission statement. You know, who are we? What are we about? What are our values? What's meaningful for us? What do we stand for? What would we? What are our core values? Lots of people that coach or talk about ADHD speak about us living our values, and if we do that, we will flourish. So I really do recommend this book to you. Just remind you, there it is, and say that you won't be disappointed, I think, with this one. It's worth the money. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it was doable, guys. So yeah, it's a great recommendation, and yeah, embrace your neurodiversity and live boldly, ladies.